Amelia Clark, how are you? What? Game of Thrones fans have signed a petition to remake season 8. Thousands of people, thousands of signatures. Look, you've played a lot of practical jokes on a lot of people. You banter people all the time. I'm not falling for this one. It's true. That's absolute nuts. Do I want to go on a date? No. Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here. And you are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, and let's talk about this ridiculous situation. How the hell did we come to this? That all these Game of Thrones fans are so upset with the show. I think when we first heard that Dan and Dave, Bainoff and Weiss, weren't going to be involved in the Game of Thrones spin-offs, and season 8 will be their last kind of interaction with the whole universe, we didn't really understand that. Now I think we understand that, because they're going, so they thought, fuck this, we're going to do whatever the fuck we want, and there's nothing anybody can do to us. HBO ain't going to mess with us. We've given them this. We're the reason for this. Yeah, obviously, the author of the original books is the mastermind, the genius, but they brought it to TV and they gave their own version of Fire and Ice. So basically, I could just see them thinking, fuck this, Dan and Dave just did whatever they wanted. And that's what's so funny about all of this. Now we know why they're not involved. But they got a better offer. Well, no. I mean, let's be clear here. I shouldn't say they've got a better offer because, Game of Thrones is massive. The spin-offs are going to be massive, even with what's going on right now. But Star Wars is for them to do Star Wars, and I think that's a very ambitious idea to get those two guys, because they are very intelligent writers, to do Star Wars, and I hope they do something really amazing. But let's go back to this insanity of this petition to remake season 8. Let me tell you a little story about myself. You may or may not know, I am obsessed with Smallville. Obsessed. And I wasn't really happy with the finale. I wasn't extremely happy with the final 3 seasons, to be honest, at the time. They've grown on me. There are some really special episodes, actually. But I wanted to remake the whole final 3 seasons. I wanted to bring the original creator showrunners back, Alan Miles. I was so angry, so pissed off. I was having so many arguments with so many people. But through the passage of time, I obviously calmed down about that. But we are passionate about these things, and I get it. But this all goes back to Jon Snow not killing the Night King. And I'll say it again, and I've said it before. I just didn't have a problem with it. I don't see what the problem is with Arya doing it. I know everyone kind of thinks that this is like Jon Snow's moment. But we haven't even seen the finale yet. There's a lot going on with Game of Thrones. We've got the coffee cup left on screen, and obviously Jaime not wearing his metal hand in last week's episode as well when he's cuddling Cersei. So these are a couple of unprofessional things mistakes. People make mistakes, don't they? It's not great, but again, it's only because people are looking for these things and they've found them, because basically the show has pissed a lot of people off. I said it on my review, I'm not an obsessive Game of Thrones fan. I like it, it compels me, it interests me. It's one of the biggest shows in the world. It's one of the best shows ever made. But it's not as good as 24, by the way. 24 is the best show I've ever seen. If you want to debate that with me in the comments, you can. That's just my personal view. So it's fascinating, really. Do I think that HBO and Warner Brothers are going to remake season 8 of Game of Thrones? You can get 1 million signatures on it. It's never going to happen. It's a ludicrous idea, I tell you. Ludicrous. The numbers are big. The numbers for the finale will be even bigger. There is no chance of this happening. But let's talk about the weaponization of the fandoms. It happened with The Last Jedi, of course, and Star Wars and Solo. And now they're doing it with Game of Thrones. And what it is, it's a bunch of right-wingers, right, who go on the internet, create channels, and become very successful through it. They weaponize the fandoms. They say they're there to talk for the fans, right? They're there to say, we're speaking out for you because Hollywood are doing all these things through political gain. But surprise, surprise, these right-wing YouTubers are doing the same thing. So they're weaponizing you for one reason, because Jon Snow didn't kill the Night King and Arya, a female, did. Now, whether that's right or wrong, they're weaponizing you. And it's clever and it's working. And they've succeeded again with Game of Thrones. I've seen all these kind of negative Game of Thrones videos and talk. It's these right-wing YouTubers again, geeks and gamers. And don't get me wrong, I like Jeremy. He does a lot of good things. I don't agree with his politics, but he's a good YouTuber. He's good at what he does. But he does weaponize the fandom. It's as simple as that. Muller is the same. That Star Wars girl, SC reviews, they're all the same. They're all doing it. It's very smart. People should be more intelligent and not fall for it and not make the money, but they will. So for me, it's quite funny, really, how it's so easy to weaponize fandoms. It's very interesting with the DCEU, actually, with the Snyder Cut thing. They have, people fighting for the Snyder Cut, some of them really despise Warner Brothers and have tried to and they failed to try and kind of make Warner Brothers DCEU movies not work out. Didn't work with Aquaman. They think they kind of achieved something with Shazam, but Shazam's on a profit. Everyone loves Shazam. There'll be a sequel. So they failed there, but they still try their little agendas. But this is something else. This is a total weaponization of people. And they're taking advantage out of you. I want you to think about this really, really carefully before you get angry. Why are you angry about Jon Snow not killing the Night King? Is it because you feel Jon Snow was robbed of his moment, or because someone with a vagina killed the Night King and it wasn't someone with a sausage going down their legs? I want to ask you this seriously. What do you really believe here? And then we go to Cersei and the way she died. What did you really want from that? Is she even dead? We don't even know that yet. In all probability, Jaime and Cersei are dead. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Anything's possible in the Game of Thrones universe. So again, you should hold off. But to be honest with you, and I said it in my review, those two characters have meant so much together. And it's poetic for them to be there at that moment. Now, maybe you wanted some bitch slap fight between Cersei and Dany. But would that have really worked? I don't really understand what you really wanted to happen there. I must admit. So I'm okay with what happened with Cersei. I think what happened with Dany was compelling. Now, people's problem with Dany burning everyone alive, that if she's going to turn evil, then it needed fleshing out. It needed a build-up. The whole point why Dan and Dave did this was for shock value. Now, that may not work for you, but that's why they did it. That's the whole point of it. It's very comparable to Lex Luthor on Smallville. I'm going back to Smallville. Most of you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But you see, we knew kind of that Lex Luthor's a villain in the comics, right? We knew who Lex Luthor is. And we see this slow build-up to Lex, getting darker. So he's this really amiable, nice guy. A lot like Dany is at the beginning of Game of Thrones in the first few seasons, right? And that's what Lex is in the first couple of seasons. But then things happen to him and he gets darker and darker. But actually, we see the same thing with Dany. There are moments where you see it. So it's not like it's a bolt out of the blue. So it kind of has been fleshed out. The problem with audiences today, they want to be spoon-fed everything. They want to be told what's going to happen so they don't get any surprises. That's why they don't like cliffhangers anymore. It's ridiculous. Basically, what people really wanted was for Jon to kill the Night King and Dany and Jon to have this incestuous kind of kingdom ruling, kind of happily ever after. And that's kind of ridiculous too. But it's all about opinions. I'm not saying you're wrong and I'm right. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So when people like geeks and gamers weaponize the fandoms, it's a kind of thing, we're wrong, they're wrong and we're right. Well, nobody's right. Nobody's wrong here. I'm telling you how I feel. And I just think if you just take a step back and think about it, getting angry about a show that hasn't even finished yet, that's got one more episode, is illogical. At least wait till you see the bloody finale. But you see, everything's become political now. Everything's become about men versus women. Everything's about right versus left. It's stupid. It's a TV show. It's important to us because we're geeks and nerds. I understand that. And for you guys and girls who have read the books, it's even more frustrating. But don't forget, you haven't seen the final 2 books. They haven't been released yet. You don't know what's going to be in there. Will he right the wrongs of this series? And what does this mean for the spin-offs as well? Please comment down below. Let me know what you think about this hilarious Game of Thrones petition to remake the whole of season 8. As I say, I think it's ridiculous. Look, it's never going to happen, and I don't think it's that bad. I think there are issues. I think Cersei didn't get any fleshing out this season, any very little screen time, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. So that was a mistake. But do I think they need to go back and do everything again? No. It is what it is. Game of Thrones had really good first 3 or 4 seasons. And then I think it started to tail off because there's only so many shocks and deaths you can do. I also think that Joffrey and Ramsay Bolton were killed off too quickly. They were very effective characters. And they really made you tune into this show because they were so hideous to watch. The actors and the writing made them unwatchable at times, but it also drawed you to those characters. Especially Ramsay Bolton. I think maybe Ramsay should have lasted a little while longer because he was great. I mean, he was pure evil, wasn't he? And when you lose characters like that so early, all of a sudden the show loses its identity and its focus. So I think it's not just about talking about this season. I think the show tailed off to reach some kind of ending a couple of seasons ago because I think what happens is as well, and Game of Thrones wasn't very popular in the first season. He only really started to become famous and popular at the end of the first season with what they did to Ned Stark and all of the stuff that was going on there. And I think when you keep on getting popular and they became the most popular, it's one of the most popular franchises. It is the most popular franchise on TV. And I think Dan and Dave started. What happens is when you're working on a show that's just become popular, it's in your mind. So when you're writing for the mainstream audience. Now, that's a mistake, but you're egged on by the network to do it. And I think this is where the problems happen. So when you first start writing for something, before it's that popular, you're writing it purely on your storytelling instincts. But when you're self-conscious, and it's like Line of Duty. I noticed this in the past 2 seasons. Now they're really popular. You can tell Jed's really self-conscious about what he's writing. And it's happened with Dan and Dave here. And this is where things begin to go awry in this industry, unfortunately. As I say, comment down below, like, share, and subscribe.